Chem here, and welcome back. Today I'm bringing you a variant of the much hyped support this league, Minion Pact, but I won't be using Blade Vortex or Spectres. This is the Arc of Oscillating Ignite Minion Pact Elementalist, which is a bit of a mouthful. I'm in SSF, and luckily I dropped a Minion Pact going for my 4 Void Stones, and I wanted to try and utilise the support without relying on BV or Spectres. Okay, so pros and cons of the build then. As you can see, screen wide clear, pretty ridiculous. So we've got 12 chains because of greater chain support. We've got Explodey from the Obliteration Wand and Ignite Prolif from the gloves. It's really tanky. We've got 78% attack and spell block with ES on block through the Aegis Aurora. Very visually satisfying. I've actually got the Herald of Ash MTX on, which really helps with the explodey feel. No Spectre management. Personally, I don't really like managing Spectres, so that's why the main reason why I opted for the Elementalist as well, just using golems. And for the most part, it's a one-button playstyle. Only really, use 2 buttons on bosses just to cast them. So yeah, pretty chill. Cons. Single target, it's pretty average until we get some more investment into the build. When you compare to Blade Vortex, which is what most people are playing Minion Pact with, because you can snapshot the crazy amount of flat fizz you get, it, can't compete with that on a single target level. But like I said previously, I just don't really like the playstyle of BV that much, so wanted to try Arc. And then very bad against certain map mods, so chance to avoid ailments, reduce block, can't regen mana. Okay, so in terms of the mechanics, the build revolves around Minion Pact support, which what it does is sacrifices a minion and a percentage of their max life is given to us as flat physical damage. Because of this, we scale minion life where we can, increase the gem levels of our golems, and then just get as much increased damage to scale the huge flat fizz even further. We run 16 golems on the build, and this is broken down into 12 stone golem of the hordes, which gives us the bulk of our damage, and we really focus on scaling the gem level to give even more maximum minion life. We also run 2 lightning golems for almost permanent mana regen uptime, 1 chaos golem for chaos resistance and dot multi, and then a flame golem for some more added damage and AoE. So which character are we going to go for then? I decided to settle on the Elementalist, mainly because of the synergies with golems, as I wanted to avoid using Spectres. We use Shaper of Flames to turn all of the flat physical damage we're gaining from Minion Pact into big ignites. This and the golem node, Liege of the Primordial, are, I would say, the 2 mandatory nodes that this build needs. The next 2 Ascendancy points are a little bit more flexible, so I decided to go for Shaper of Storms and Mastermind of Discord. I did also do some testing with Bringer of Ruin, which is the Herald Ascendancy, but I found as only Herald of Purity and Herald of Ash really help this build significantly, it just didn't feel it worth investing into the other Heralds and going for this node. Okay, so moving over to POB to go over the gems and links. The main skill, Arc of Oscillating, and I've managed to corrupt it with Unbound Ailments. I would use a Coin of Knowledge, preferably on this, as gem level doesn't matter too much. If you see, if I increase this, barely moves. So yeah, use a Coin of Knowledge, it has much better outcomes in my opinion than power and skill. And then the 2 mandatory supports for this build is obviously Minion Pact, which gives us a ridiculous amount of damage, obviously because we're scaling all that minion life, and then Greater Chain. So outside of Minion Pact, I mean this skill, or support, sorry, is just ridiculous. So like 56% more DPS, and helps us with clear. Yeah, just completely dumb. And then to finish off the supports, we go with Cruelty, Combustion and Swift Affliction, which just helps scale those ignites a bit further. Main 4-link golem setup, so this is where the bulk of our damage will come from. We've got Stone Golem of Hordes, Empower, Congregation, and Minion Life. So we have 12 of these, and because we've got 16 in total, there's a 75% chance that it's going to sacrifice these on a cast. So yeah, we just focus on scaling the level of this as high as possible. Got another 4-link set up here, which is 2 Lightning Golems for mana regen, Chaos Golem for dot multi and Chaos res, and then a Flame Golem for increased damage and AoE. I did experiment going with a 4th Golem here, but because there's still a 25% chance one of these gets summoned, I figured I'd opt for Minion Life here as well. Auras, Herald of Ash, Herald of Purity for damage, Tempest Shield, Flesh and Stone for defenses, and then I've got Clarity linked with Arrogance as well, because mana regen's a bit of a problem on this build I found, so, you know, Clarity alongside the Lightning Golems, and that's why I summon 2, just in case one gets sacrificed, you know, if we've pretty much got permanent uptime, so that's great. I use Shield Charge faster in attacks mainly, but for situations where I can't use Shield Charge, I use Frostblink, and then Flammability is the curse. Okay, moving on to my current gear set then. So for the weapon, we've got an Obliteration, which is a great budget option. Due to the loads of flat fizz we get from Minion Pact, this gives us a lot of additional chaos damage, and more importantly, some Explodey. Shield, Aegis Aura, plenty of armor, solid amount of energy shield, and it also gives us a lot of ES on block. So as we keep scaling our armor, this just becomes exponentially better. You can also go for a well-crafted titanium spirit shield or something with ES on block, which I believe is Shaper influence, but honestly I just think Aegis is a really comfy option. So the helmet, this is mandatory, this is really important. So it's the Dark Monarch with the Summoned Golems mod on it. So this allows us to get up to 16 golems. I believe it can go even up to 17 with a higher level congregation, which synergizes well with Primordial Bond as well on the cluster jewels, as that gives us increased damage per golem. So yeah, really good. The amulet that I'm running is the Bone Meld. Again, really good synergy with this build, and it's a really common drop, so for SSF, very easy to farm. Gives us +2 to minion levels and a lot of increased defenses. So we get 4% increased defenses per minion active, and with my current gear, so that'll be 64% increased defenses, which really helps our armor and the ES pool. You've got to overcome the minus resistance downside, but that isn't too difficult. So in terms of doing that then, the other ring and belt slots, I'm just pretty much picking up life, resistances, and minion life as well. Honestly, these are the weakest parts of my build right now, so I need to craft better jewellery. Then for the remaining armour pieces, we go for armour ES bases. So on the Sacred Chainmail that I've crafted, this is a recombinating job. So basically just recombinated 3 tier 1 prefixes together. And Eldritch Implicits, Fizz taken as cold, because we've got a lot of cold res. We've got more max cold res because of the Aegis. And then I've just gone with +1 to all max resistances as well. Nothing too crazy. Gloves, these are pretty well crafted. And then we get Fire Exposure and Ignite Prolif here. And then on the boots, I go for, again, just reses, movement speed, armor ES, with Ignite to inflict, deal damage faster, and action speed. Flasks, I go for a life flask, granite and basalt, just to scale the armor further, quicksilver for movement speed, and a sulfur flask. Now there's quite a few good unique options here which I need to farm. I think Cinder Swallow with the Malediction Unveil is probably one of the best flasks you can get for the build. So yeah, that's probably one of my next steps to focus. In terms of dual slots, I go for large clusters with minions still increase damage because you can roll Primordial Bond. Now, I think there's 3 different outcomes you can hit that puts the Primordial Bond at the front here. And I think the way I remembered it is they all begin with R. I think it's like Renewal, Rotten Claws, and Raise and Pillage or something. So if you hit any of those, it'll put Primordial Bond to the front as well. This one's also a 9 passive, so I need to get an 8 passive there. And then for duels, my duels aren't great right now, but they cap out my block, and I just try and get like fire dot multi, damaging ailments, deal damage faster, and stuff like that. So, yep. Okay, so quick overview of the passive tree now. So, some of the pathing looks a bit inefficient, and to tell you the truth, it is. It can definitely be improved, but the main thing is I wanted a good defensive shell to the build. So this top left part of the tree is very hard to get attack block, and because we use an Aegis, it's quite important to be block capped. So I path down here. Now, what I'll probably do eventually is farm a cord belt from Blight, which is the belt that can be anointed, and then I can anoint Aggressive Bastion on the belt, and then as the mountain on the amulet. And I think with some block tattoos on these strength nodes, I should be able to get capped that way, which will free up some points for either like medium clusters or a third large cluster, so I'll have to think about that. Elegant Hubris makes it so we can tattoo all these attribute nodes. So you get an Elegant Hubris with Caspiro on it, and then you can take this keystone, which makes it so we don't need attributes at all. And then what I'd recommend is to get at least 1 Minion Life node with this notable. Luckily, I was able to get 2, which was really good for SSF. So I farmed a few of them up and would just keep divining them until I got something usable, basically. And yeah, I'm really happy with how this one ended up. And then, honestly, the rest of the nodes are just getting more life, more armor, more ES, basically just scaling our defenses as much as possible, because we get a lot of flat damage from Minion Pact anyway. It's not too focused on damage. Obviously, I am still picking up some fire damage, dot multi nodes. Obviously, this one here for golems, which is really good. So yeah, this is the sort of affordable tree, I'd say. On my low budget one, this is like the minimum. So this actually has a worse Caspiro in, where it just has 1 maximum life. But yeah, this is your sort of level 90 starter tree to be block capped. Okay, so in the notes section, I've got a few different categories, but the main bit of focus, I would say, is the mandatory items needed. So if you're playing SSF or trade, this is what you'll need to farm or buy first. So Minion Pact support, obviously, goes without saying. That's what the whole build revolves around. Congregate, you probably could play the build without this, but again, you're going to have quite a few less golems, so ideally try and get this. Arc of Oscillating, see, that's the skill that we use. Stone Golem of Hordes, that allows us, again, alongside Congregate, just to get more golems. Dark Monarch with this mod, again, doubles our golems. Bone Meld Amulet, not mandatory, but because it is very easy to farm and it's very strong, it's, I would put it in the mandatory category. And then Obliteration Wand, just because it gives us a lot of Physis Chaos and Explodey. Now, I've also put down here next priorities to farm, so I'm kind of categorizing these as not mandatory, but they are what you should focus next. And I've tried to put them in order of importance as well. So like Greater Chain, I didn't actually have this until, a day or two ago. and I was still playing the build absolutely fine, but this has just really improved it. So I'd say that's probably max priority. And then just not going to go through all of these, but just read down them. And yeah, I've got this higher investment bit at the bottom as well, which, I mean, these are obtainable in SSF, but I'd say, right now I don't have a character that's really uber viable, so I can't get Grace of the Goddess right now, but I'm working on another character to focus that, and then, ironically, once I have this and some other upgrades, I can probably do ubers on this build as well. So I'll include an aspirational POB as well, so you'll find that in the loadout section. Bandits and Pantheon then. So for the major god, I'm going for Brine King, and the minor god, I'm going for Aberath. When it comes to leveling, I'll just level with any build you fancy really. You just want to get an Elementalist up to about level 90 ideally before transitioning. So I personally went with DS Lily's RF Elementalist, but you could probably do any other popular builds such as the Glacial Cascade Miner, or just stick to an Ignite build to level, something like Wave of Conviction. I switched to the build pretty early. I think I switched at level 72, which is the earliest you can actually use Minion Pact, and just struggled my way through the early end game. But yeah, like I say, I think bare minimum level 84, because then you can put like the helmet and all the gear on, but ideally around level 90 you want to make the switch. So when it comes to Atlas strategies, the two main strats that I've been running on this build are a Breach, Beyond and Delhi tree, and a Legion and Harvest tree. Thankfully, both of these strategies contribute towards upgrades for the build, and the playstyle of Arc really lends itself well to this content, so it's quite an enjoyable process. To try and not make this video too long, I'll refrain from going into too much detail here, as I plan on doing a follow-up video going over my strategies to farm the pieces for this build. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so what's next for me then? So I'll continue to try and farm good unique boots from the Breach tree to Corrupt, and hopefully hit +2 to socketed minion gems. What I can do then is run my stone golems in the boots, and that will improve my single target by quite a bit. Continue to farm Minion Life tattoos for the int nodes. Start to focus farming unique flasks for the build, like I mentioned earlier with the Cinder Swallow, but also there's a few other good ones, such as Orif's End, which drops from Ubercyrus, and also at Series Promise and Taste of Hate. So all these flasks are good options. Try and fracture Primordial Bond on a large cluster. I've got a few refracting fogs farmed up, so I can try and hit another meaningful notable. So then I can maybe craft, something further alongside the Primordial Bond, which would be a good improvement as well to the build. Farm a Mageblood. So I dropped the Eye of Terror card from Syndicate, which gives a Foulborn Mageblood, and I managed to gamble it up to 7 out of 8. So I may be in Syndicate Prison for a little while to try and get that last card to drop, and if I do, I'm going to have a lot of fun with the build, I feel. So you come to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the Arc build guide. If you did enjoy it, please hit like and subscribe so you can keep updated with future content, and I'll see you on the next one.